Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Hello, everyone. Once again, you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. Today, I'm going to be covering a topic, and I'm actually going to interject a real situation with a client and their scenario. Because I think if I explain their scenario, it'll kind of give an idea of some of the things that we need to take into consideration, whether we're planning for retirement or maybe we're already retired. For those of you that are new listeners to the show, each and every week, what we try to do is share strategies and ideas that you may be able to use in order to enhance what it is you've been able to accomplish when it comes to your retirement planning. Again, maybe you're just a few years away from retirement. Maybe you are already retired. If you have any questions about any of the topics that I'm talking about on the show, but also just as important, maybe you have questions outside of the topics that I'm talking currently on the show about. Maybe you have a question about your specific situation or a scenario that you're going through, or your 401ks, or your IRAs, or your Social Security, or your pensions, or your legacy planning. If you have questions outside of maybe some of the topics that I'm talking about on the show, please don't hesitate to give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980. Also, we have been doing some webinars. If you care to take advantage of a webinar that we are hosting, you can do it out of the comfort of your own home. There's no cost or obligation. Just give us a call. We'll send you the link. You just give us a call, 800-700-1980. You can also reach us on the web at safeguardinvestment.com. And once again, if you do have any questions regarding any of the topics that we're talking about on the show, or maybe you just want to give us some input, feel free to give us a call, and we'd love to hear from you. Now, what I want to talk about today is this. Some of you right now, I got to ask you a question. Maybe those of you that are on the side of the spectrum that are maybe close to retirement, I want to ask you a question. Do you feel you're in a position right now where you are working because you want to and not because you have to? If the answer to that question is you're not sure or no, then you want to listen to this segment of the show today, because I want to address some things that you need to be concerned with. Now, if you're on the other side of the spectrum, and maybe those of you that are listening to the show right now, maybe you are already retired and you're like, whoopee, I'm retired. I've won the comfortable retirement and I'm doing great. Well, here's the thing. There's things I'm going to talk about here today that are going to be critical, because keep in mind, like I've said on many shows before, and it may sound like a broken record, just because we've won the comfortable retirement today doesn't mean we can maintain it through our lifetime. Because the average retiree, somebody retiring at 65, has a 75% chance of making it to age 88. So people are living 20 and in some cases 30 years into retirement. So just because we won the comfortable retirement today, can we maintain it over the next 20 or 30 years? So I want to talk to both sides of the equation from the standpoint of somebody that's just planning for retirement and somebody that is currently retired. And I want to use a client's situation specifically because it covers both sides. And here's what I want to talk about. Maybe I should just give you the scenario. I have a client that, and of course I'm not mentioning any names or anything like that, but I do have a client that is 3 years away from retirement. Now, this particular client, their situation is they're very, very, very conservative. And they've been very conservative for many years, to the point where, they have a lot of money just sitting in CDs and savings accounts and things of that nature, maybe making 1% on their money. And that's just who they are. They just scared of the market. Now, they fortunately over the years have been able to save up some money. Now, here's the thing, 3 years away from retirement, and now we're doing some planning, and they need $10,000 a month to live in retirement in order to maintain their standard of living. Now, when they retire, right now, the husband's income is great. He's 67. He makes great income. Obviously, when they retire, income is going to go down from the standpoint of the sources. The wages aren't going to be coming in anymore. So what's going to happen is the income is going to be coming from Social Security. Husband will be getting about $2,800 a month. Spouse will be getting $1,400 a month. And now the difference has to come from the investments. Now, some years ago, we had set up a plan on a portion of their assets that when they retire, the other portion of the assets that we set up was guaranteed that when he retired, is going to get him another $2,800. So roughly, I don't have the numbers right here in front of me. Roughly, they're going to have, when they retire, a little over $6,500 a month guaranteed. But now they tell me they're going to need more like $10,000. So we got to come up with another $4,000 a month. We got to strategize now. We have to make sure we have a plan in place that can come up with that. So here's the thing. Those of you that are close to retirement, I'm bringing this up because your numbers need to be looked at, because everybody's situation is different. You may have a 401k. You may have a TSP. You may have a 457. Those of you who are listening right now, some of you may have a 403b. Some of you may work for the electric company or work for Kaiser. You have different circumstances. So depending upon your situation and the income that you need and the plans that you have available to you will determine what strategy or what we may need to implement to get you as close to that number that you need. And it may be that, hey, listen, where you're at, you're not going to be able to get to that number. You may be a little short on that. So we may need to make compromises somewhere else. Or maybe we can get to that number, but we have to make adjustments here and there. Or maybe, so you have to start your planning early. So I'm bringing this up is because working with this client, knowing how conservative they are, knowing their situation years ago, when we set up their plan, we set up a base. Now that they're closer to retirement, and even though they changed numbers on me and said now instead of needing 65, I need really 10,000 a month, we still have enough time, and we've done things in a strategic way, knowing that, hey, I know client situations are going to change. I know things are going to happen, but we had set things up based upon their parameters and based upon their risk tolerance. So that way, if we did need to make adjustments or switch up the game plan down the road, we had the ability to do that within reason, of course. So those of you, if you want to be put in a position, those of you that aren't quite retired yet, if you want to be put in a position where you are working because you want to, not because you have to, and actually want to have a strategic game plan, something that you can sink your teeth in, something that's tangible, rather than just a bunch of generalities, what I suggest you do is give me a call right now, 800-700-1980. I'll give you a 15-minute strategy call where I can dissect some, your situation and kind of maybe give you some tidbits on what you may be able to do, or at least give you a direction on where you may want to go in order to kind of help your situation out. Now, because the challenge is, if there's a point that I'm trying to make, is that if this client came to me 3 years from retirement or even a year away from retirement and tells me, hey, I need $10,000 a month, and we haven't done previous planning, they may be completely behind the 8 ball and there may be nothing I could do for them. Fortunately, because we did the planning that we had done previously, there's things that they have to do now in order to, adjust going forward. And they won. And here's the thing. Those of you that are already retired, they've won the comfortable retirement. Now the game plan going forward, and there's adjustments that I can do in their portfolio in order to get them to where they need to be 3 years from now. But the question that they have and the challenge that most people have is, can they now maintain this over the next 20, 30 years in retirement? So I'm going to discuss some of these details of risks that we're going to face in retirement, that also are concerns that we have prior to retirement. And I'm going to go into that in detail with you guys. So I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to go into those details. So again, you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. And if you have any questions about anything I'm discussing here right now, Call me 800-700-1980. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
And we're back. You are listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. Once again, I'm your host, Rick Rivera. If you have any questions about any of the topics we're talking about on the show today, maybe you have questions about your specific situation, because again, I know a lot of our listeners, many of them work for Kaiser. Some of you work for the gas company or the electric company. Some of you are actually working for the state. And all of those scenarios, you guys have great programs available to you and pensions and what have you, but you have certain intricacies that are available to you that the average person that just has a regular 401k doesn't. And maybe you want to know how you can leverage your pensions and how to minimize taxation on your Social Security and all the rest of it based upon your specific situation, because you work for these different companies or organizations, and you want to know how they work in your specific scenario. Just give us a call, 800-700-1980, and I'll be happy to give you some tidbits that you should be aware of and benefits that you have that are available to you, just so you can maximize and wring out every nickel that you can, and that you're maximizing and making sure all those benefits that you do have are running on all cylinders for your situation. So just give me a quick call and we can talk about your scenario, and I can at least maybe point you in the right direction of some things that you may want to take advantage of. Or if you got questions outside of what I'm talking about here on the show, feel free to give me a call, 800-700-1980. You can also reach us on the web at safeguardinvestment.com. And you can also give us a call if you'd like to maybe hop in on any of our webinars that we're currently doing. And the nice thing about the webinars that we're doing now, you can watch them right from the comfort of your own home. Just give us a call. We'll send you the link. And again, that number is 800-700-1980. So let me pick up where I left off. And I was kind of giving you a scenario, again, things that people need to be concerned about prior to retirement, and then also when they are retired. And I was giving you an example of a client that I had, or that I do have, excuse me. And what I was saying is we did some planning based upon their goals and objectives, some years ago. And, we've been reviewing it, and now we're, coming along another review. They're, 3 years away from retirement. And now they're telling me, hey, you know what? The income that I told you I thought I was going to need, at such and such a time is now going to be more. So we're going from like $6,000, $6,500 a month that we think we're going to really need more like $10,000 a month in retirement. Now, fortunately, the way we had structured things based upon their risk tolerance and all the rest of it, years ago, they're in a position where we can make that adjustment in their situation, and it's going to be okay. But here's the thing, folks. Those of you that are listening now, and let's say you won the comfortable retirement, you got the income and everything's good. Can we maintain it over the next 20 or 30 years? Because here's the scenario that we have to take into consideration. Based on this particular client's situation, and now increasing the amount of income they're going to need, based on the current portfolio investments, in order to get them to where they need now that they increase their income, they're going to have to pull roughly a little bit more than 4% of their investments out in order to create the income that they're going to need. And they can do that. And some of you may have even heard of the 4% rule out there that says, hey, as long as you're pulling out 4% of your investments, the money's going to last you the rest of your life. But here's where it goes wrong, folks. That is if everything goes perfect. Pulling out 4% of your investment as long as everything goes perfect. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we're pulling out 4% right now in order to get them the income that they need, what do you think the likelihood of inflation being over the next 10, 15, 20 years in retirement? So those of you that are currently retired and you're like, oh, wow, Rick, I won the comfortable retirement. I'm good. I don't need advice. I don't need help. I don't need to overlook this stuff. I'm good. Folks, one of the risks in retirement is inflation, which reduces the spending power of your money over time. So whatever income you had set for yourself today, over the next 5, 10, 15, potentially 20 years, you may need a plan in place that's going to help offset the cost of inflation, especially in the situation that we're in right now. It's just a reality. We have to face it. Now, if inflation doesn't rise and we planned for it, well, then great, no harm, no foul. But what if we don't plan for it, we don't take it into consideration, and it does increase over time, and now I got to worry about running out of money? So maybe those of you that are currently retired, this is something that needs to be addressed in your particular situation. Those of you that are planning for retirement, not only do you have to plan and address the income that you're going to need when you do retire, but the point that I make is that there has to be a plan in place for you as well that addresses inflation. Because again, just because you come up with a number that says, hey, I'm going to need $6,000 a month when I retire, or whatever that figure is, that number may need to change over time. Here's the other thing I need to point out to you. What if, God forbid, and it does happen, one spouse predeceases the other? What are the chances of both spouses passing away at the same time? Unlikely. I don't want to say it's unlikely, but I guess it does happen, or within short time of each other. But here's the point that I want to make that most people don't think of, or a lot of people don't think of. If one spouse predeceases the other, so in this particular client's case, the husband was getting $2,800 a month. The wife is going to get $1,400 a month. If the wife passes away before the husband, we lose one in Social Security. So $2,800 Social Security to the husband, $1,400 a month in Social Security for the spouse. So if the wife passes away before the husband's going to lose the $1,400 Social Security check. So income goes down by $1,400. Never mind the inflation increasing. And many of you that have pensions, sometimes the pension gets cut by 25% or even 50% in some cases. So what plan is in place to now offset that shortfall in income? Are we now going to have to take that percentage withdrawal from 4% now up to 5 to 6 to 7% withdrawal rate now because of inflation, now because of one spouse predeceased to the other, and now a pension got cut and we lost a Social Security check? Because unfortunately, guess what, folks? Social Security doesn't allow you to keep both checks. You keep the higher of the two. If the husband passes away, the wife will lose her $1,400. She'll keep the husband's $2,800, but she's going to lose the $1,400. So this is where I'm saying, just because we won the comfortable retirement today doesn't mean that we'll be able to maintain it over the next 15, 20 years of retirement. So you need to have a plan in place that's going to address inflation, going to address the potential fact that we may lose a portion of the pension and a Social Security check. The other thing that we need to take into consideration, folks, taxes. In this particular client situation, based on their scenario, they're like, well, Rick, at least, when I retire 3 years from now, my taxes are going to be less because my income is going to be a little lower. Well, based upon their numbers, folks, I got to remind you of something. This is critical. When the new tax law came into effect in 2018, marginal rates were lowered. Well, all these rates, they were permanent for corporations, but they weren't permanent for individuals. There was a sunset clause built in. So the old rates revert back, the higher marginal rates revert back if Congress does nothing. So in this particular client situation, even though that if the old rates come back, if Congress does nothing and the old rates come back, they're actually going to be paying as much in taxes now with the lower income. And here's the other thing, folks, I got to ask you. With everything going on right now, what do you think the likelihood is of Congress actually keeping rates where they're at or even reducing them going forward? This debt's going to have to be paid somehow. Now, if they can keep them where they're at, great. But here's the situation. We need to plan for the worst case scenario. We need to make sure we have a plan that will address the taxes if they go up. Again, making sure that our retirement is running on all cylinders. So just because I won the comfortable retirement today, just because I can pull X amount of my investments today and get this amount of income, does that mean that moving forward as inflation increases, as taxes increase, what if an emergency happens? And God forbid there's a medical condition and I have to draw a lump sum of money out of my investments. These are all things that can affect our portfolio going forward. So if you're listening to the show and you're already retired, these are all things that need to be taken in consideration in your planning to make sure that the comfortable retirement that you have now can be maintained throughout the rest of your life. Those of you that are not retired right now, you need to have a plan in place to not only get you to retirement, but also maintain you through retirement. So there's a variety of risks that need to be concerned. So in this particular client situation, we have a plan in place that can address that. If marginal rates move up, we have a plan in place that addresses that, so that way we spend down less of our assets. If you want to know how all these strategies would work in your particular situation, because everybody's different, especially if you're working for Kaiser, you have different things that are available to you that might be different from somebody else working for the state or somebody that's working for the electric company or the gas company. You guys all have different situations. So if you want to know or you have questions about these topics that we talk about on our show, and you'd like a 15-minute phone call with me personally, and I can kind of maybe give you some tidbits and maybe point you out in the right direction, or you can't answer the question of, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm able to retire, or I'm not, I want to be in the position of, I'm working because I want to, not because I have to. Or maybe you're in the position of, hey, listen, Rick, I feel like I won the comfortable retirement, but now, you're raising up some questions here that, I just want to make sure that I got all my ducks in a row so that, I can maintain this throughout my life, the rest of my life while I'm in retirement, and I don't run into any surprises. Give me a call right now, toll free, 800-700-1980. Not going to cost you a penny. I'll give you a 15-minute consultation over the phone. No cost, no obligation. If you care to sign up for any of our webinars, you can also do that. We can send you a link by just dialing 800-700-1980. Love to have an opportunity to help you out. And again, those webinars you can even watch right from the comfort of your home. This also brings us to a close of the show. The show always goes so fast. I want to thank all of you for listening. Again, you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. Look forward to talking to you all next week. And please, if you got questions on any of these things, give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC. This radio show is a paid placement.